Cam, 7 weeks away from the first race of the year, 5 weeks away from a very critical test. Is there likely to see any change in the established order on the back of Car of the Future's introduction?
I don't think so, Chris. I think the teams that have done their homework and the R&D on building the cars, the teams that started the earliest, the best teams, FPR, 888, not in any necessarily order, and HRT, I still think are going to be at the front. I think from about 6th to sort of 15th, I think that'll be a bit more mixed. And hopefully with the mixing formats, we'll also see some other drivers, certain circuits that meet the driver's eye better than others. But I don't think it'll mix up the pecking order that much. I think it's great that we're going to see other cars out there and we're going to see driver changes and different livery, a new sponsor in Red Bull, etc. But the good teams will get on top of it the quickest still.
The other thing is there has never been more presence of teams feeding off other teams. People talk about technological alliances that once weren't allowed in the sport, but Dick Johnson Racing, for instance, are pretty much buying all of FPR's technology. So it's like the days when they won the championship with 888 Race Engineering built chassis, and that will run deep. The difference may be some people will be very late receiving their cars. Hard to expect they will be right at the forefront, which actually means those guys who've come out of the blocks earliest have an even bigger advantage.
Yeah, well, if you look at Walkinshaw, for example, they've got to build 5 cars. They're three cars for their main guys, a spare car, and Tony D'Alberto, who's now come back into as a customer. I think it's a smart way. If you're a little bit under-resourced, it may be a shortcoming or a shortfall that you get the car a bit late and you don't get a lot of parts, but throughout the year, it's being able to share the IP, the intellectual property, and that's what's worked very well for Techno this year, being able to get that sort of data. If you get lost at the racetrack, you know exactly where to get the car back in the window. And it's also going to mean that you speed up the learning curve because these cars are completely different. You're not going to see a roll centre change in a pit stop anymore with the Watts linkage. You have to get under the car. So there's going to be certain tweaks the cars need to go quick that are going to be very different to what we've seen in the past. Your pick, who's going to win the championship in 2013?
Garth Tander.
Garth Tander. Very good call, very good call. Look, personally, I think it'll be a driver that has more of an open-wheeler driving style, a driver that can carry a lot more mid-corner speed. It'll be a very different car to drive. That's not necessarily Garth, but he's still, for mine, one of the best drivers out there. So, I think James Courtney will be more competitive, but I'm going to go and say Mark Winterbottom's going to win his first.
Well, he'll be happy if he does. He's been so close for so many years. Mate, it's been great to catch up here at the Sandbar. Sunny skies, plenty more to do. Catch up soon.
Let's go and get Crusher and get the bill sorted. Come on.
I think Car of the Future will certainly spice things up as far as the stronger teams in the championship next year. The obvious one is that the teams that are clever enough to get the most out of the current cars and the current rules are still going to be the ones that are going to be at the front next year. However, it does give the younger teams and the teams that haven't got as big a budgets the same opportunity to develop their equipment to that level that the other teams are, and in turn close the gap from the front to back. And that's what I think is important. It's not so much going to be the driver that it comes down to next year. I don't think that statement's correct. However, it will come down to the team that's clever enough to get the right setup in that car in the initial learning stages of 2013.
Hard to say. There's a lot of work to be done by a lot of teams, and there's a chance because of the big project we've taken on with the AMG cars that we might be a bit underdone for Clipsal, but I'm hoping that if we can stick to our schedules that we've planned out, there's enough time there for some good testing pre-Clipsal. And hopefully the pecking order will change and in our favours, but it might take a while.
I hope not, but it's a clean piece of paper for everybody. Everyone's had the same amount of time to do the job. Hopefully we can wheel out a car that's competitive. That's obviously our intention, but the rule book and it all comes back to sort of ground zero, and we all go again. So the development race over the next couple of years again is going to be it's going to be full on. It's going to be as hard as it ever has been to win a race, because it's got to be hard to win a race. It needs to be hard to win a race. You can't just expect to turn up and do it. You've got to work hard. Got to get the processes, the people, the drivers, everything in place, and that's what competition's all about. So it'll be exciting to start with a new platform next year. We're looking forward to it.
I think the teams with the big budgets will still be the fast cars out there. But honestly, how do you really know what to expect next year? It's going to be super interesting when we all roll onto the grid at Clipsal.
I'm not sure it'll change the top teams, but I think it'll certainly mix up everyone behind. I mean, the two top teams have got good equipment. I think that it'll move some of the other teams up to their level.
I think in some way it will. Definitely we get back on a bit more of a level playing field, but You know, you're always going to have your teams with the most money running up the front.
Yeah, I think car of the future will have a big impact, but I still think that good teams will build good cars and vice versa. I think it might even spread the field a bit more. So, like, you know, this year I got a second between one and last, and now I think next year it might blow out to a bit more than that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There may be a little bit of a shakeout, but I can't see anyone climbing over Red Bull as they'll be next year in a big hurry, or Ford Performance Racing, because they're the best resourced.